being reported that you're looking at tighter restrictions on smoking outdoors, pub gardens, outdoor restaurants, outside hospitals and so on. Is that something that you are considering?
So, he's not been 2 months in the job, and the man who was tasked with fixing a broken Britain, Keir Starmer, is already well on his way to doing everything that needs to be done to fix our once okay nation. Britain is in the grips of a cloud of smoke, right? So we need to get rid of the smoking. And the other big problem is children posting spicy memes. So Keir, as ever, finger on the pulse of the nation, the vanguard of the zeitgeist. He is banning smoking. He is arresting the naughty children. And I, for one, am very much here for that.
Who's Daniel Boland? Oh, Daniel Boland, this is a heavy hitter. Do you guys know who this is?
My starting point on this is to remind everyone that over 80,000 people lose their lives every year because of smoking.
All right, so Keir's being a little bit hyperbolic there when he says that 80,000 people lose their lives to smoking every year. When he says lives, he means their sex lives. Look at that poor fellow there in the fetal position, weeping naked, right? Because he can't satisfy his woman or man. I remember the first time I saw that on a cigarette packet, I thought, well, I'm not sure that works as a deterrent. It might, I don't know. But my second thought was, how unattractive, you know? You get a girl or boy home and, you know, you can't get it up. And your response is to curl up in a ball, still naked, on the bed, and begin rocking and holding yourself. Ah! There's definitely no second date now.
That's a preventable death.
Well, I mean, no death is preventable. You know, by definition, it is postponable. They're postponable deaths.
It's a huge burden on the NHS.
Now, I know some of you will find my comments to be ignorant, misinformed, facetious, stupid, right? But I don't like it when they tell me that my death is a burden on the NHS. Oh, you're using up our resources. You know, I imagine myself lying there dying in hospital and all the doctors and nurses sort of scowling at me. Oh, what fucking just dead weight, you know, as they all have a fag out the back. Another fucking burden on the NHS.
And of course, it's a burden on the taxpayer. So yes, we are going to take decisions in this space. More details will be revealed, but this is a preventable series of deaths, and we've got to take the action to reduce the burden on the NHS and reduce the burden on the taxpayer.
Now, don't get me wrong, I've lived through, I've survived 2 smoking bans in England and then in Spain. So I think we banned it in 2007 in England when I was a very young man, but just starting to go out into pubs and restaurants and stuff. And I lived a few months of that smoky atmosphere, which I didn't like because I've never smoked. And then in 2009, I moved to Spain. In 2010, they banned smoking in Spain. So I had like a 6-month period of reliving those smoky bars and restaurants. And everyone smoked in Spain. So it was not nice. And I was kind of glad when they banned it. To be honest, and it is a lot nicer to go out to bars and restaurants now when everyone's not smoking. But I just wonder who is actually really bothered, who isn't a curtain-twitching busybody fag who's actually worried about people smoking outside, you know? And also, I think it's kind of bad optics for the Labour Party at this time of great social unrest. To be being all precious about people smoking, you know? It kind of reinforces the negative stereotypes around left-leaning parties, which are that they are all fannying around and interfering with people's private lives, you know? They're all, what's the word I'm looking for? They're pearl clutching, there's a word, holier than thou, they want everyone to do as they say, sort of thing. And I don't think it's a good time to be talking about that kind of thing, banning smoking outside. It just makes them look petty and silly, frankly.
You said when you became Prime Minister you wanted politics to tread more lightly on people's lives. This is the opposite, isn't it?
Look, I think it's important to get the balance right.
One of Depeche Mode's lesser-known singles.
But everybody watching this who uses the NHS will know that it's on its knees.
Yeah, but I think that's precisely the point, Sir Queer. Anyone who is genuinely worried about the fact that the NHS is on its knees like a motherfucker, they're gonna realise that this is at best a demagogical policy, banning smoking outside. It's very silly. It's not going to have any real impact on it, is it? It's just optics. It's a thing that only somebody who is interested in the advancement of the Labour Party could give a shit about, because it's not really genuinely going to have any impact on the NHS anytime soon, is it? So, there.
In your face, you queer!
We have to relieve the burden, and that's why I spoke before the election about moving to a preventative model when it comes to health.
A preventative model when it comes to health. It's amazing how these innocuous, slimy little jellyfish rise to the top in these back-patting societies that run everything. Political parties and so on. I will not be happy, personally, unless by the end of Sir Queer's reign, we are not living in some kind of Minority Report style society in Britain. Where every time you even think, you entertain the thought of doing something which could be bad to your health, they shut your ass down, right? I think a good use of our resources would be to raise all the council estates to the ground and take the occupants and enclose them in little plasma-filled egg-shaped pods, right? And use them for fuel, okay? Like in that film, The Matrix. I am so ready for The Matrix.
I want the NHS back on its feet.
You'll be back on your knees in no time.
I also want it fit for the next, 75 years, just as we've had a brilliant 75 years already.
He's right. It has been a pretty fun, a pretty awesome 75 years already of the NHS. Let me know in the comments, which was your favourite NHS year? I'd say mine was probably, it has to be 2020, but I know that's an obvious answer, isn't it? Anyway, he's right, banning the smoking in beer gardens will give us at least another 75 years of the NHS. Long live the NHS!
And that means taking action in relation to preventable deaths, and these are 80,000 a year preventable deaths.
Okay, Keir, you've got yourself a deal. Here it is. If you manage to reduce the associated deaths by 80,000 within the first 3 years of your beer garden smoking ban coming into effect, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll head to Victoria Street in London and I'll stand outside the Ministry of Health and Social Care. And I will build a fire and sacrifice a lamb, and I will dance around that fire in my loincloth, smearing the blood of the lamb all over my face.
This is the moment police raid the home of a mother.
Stop taking pictures of me!
You didn't take pictures of me! So that's where Jill Scott was on the Stick to Football podcast this week. That was a great reference that everyone is going to get, I'm sure. Okay, so what's next? This is stage 2 of Sir Keir's plan to unbreak Britain. Okay? Arrest all of the dissidents.
And a son suspected of violent disorder in Middlesbrough. We joined Cleveland Police as they carried out Operation Macademia.
Operation Macademia. Imagine that as well. I know why they call it. Look at the macadamia nut, right? I know what they were thinking when they called it Operation Macademia. Aye, 'cause they're all white skinheads. They look like little macadamia nuts in a little packet. Right? That's what they're doing. I see what they're doing. Imagine if there was an operation to arrest a load of black guys. Operation Malteser.
Targeting those connected to the unrest earlier this month.
Some of these people potentially will try to escape.
You see what I was saying about these weaselly, innocuous, jellyfish-type men rising to the top? Like this motherfucker right here, you know? I don't want my chief of police on Teesside in Middlesbrough to look like that. I want Judge Dredd, all right? I want a big, muscle-bound Sylvester Stallone-like sort of guy.
Final brief as teams prep for arrest raids across Teesside.
I was a Silver Commander on for Sunday, the 4th of August.
I was a Silver Commander. Course you were, sweetheart.
Never in 30 years seen any scenes like that within Middlesbrough. What the community had to put up for that day was totally unacceptable.
Oh, Mr. Big Silver Surfer, don't go too hard on those smoggies.
So early today, Operation Macademia fanned out across the area. As of this morning, 96 arrests with 35 remanded in custody. Moments after this was filmed, that tally would grow.
You are under arrest for violent disorder, alright? So you don't have to say anything.
First address, and a man aged 23 taken on suspicion of violent disorder. Next up, same address and his mother aged 43, the 100th person arrested on Teesside.
Stop taking pictures of me!
Also on suspicion of violent disorder.
See, again, I think the problem for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party here is optics, right? The way things look. There is this perception of two-tier policing in the UK, which we've spoken about before. And again, there is just a feeling of discontent in the UK amongst large parts of the population that there is a breakdown of law and order, right? And that the public services don't work well enough. You know, everything's kind of a bit broken and dirty and shit, okay? And obviously the excuse there is a lack of resources. There's not enough money for stuff. We don't have enough money for more police or other preventative measures, you know, to avoid all the delinquency and violent crime that's going on. And people are feeling unsafe in a lot of areas of large cities in the UK. And suddenly overnight, the government finds enough funds for Operation Macademia to arrest everyone in Middlesbrough, you know, 11-year-old kids posting spicy memes or being seen in the vicinity of a looting, perhaps. I don't know. Where have all those resources come from all of a sudden? Look, I'm not saying it's wrong. The protests, obviously, smashing property, looting shops, assaulting people is not okay. Anyone who did any of that stuff needs to be arrested, fined, convicted. I don't know exactly what has to happen to who, but you can't go around smashing shit up like that. It's not okay. But there is this perception, and I have it too, and I think a lot of the population would agree, that if this had been any other kind of riot, you know, they wouldn't have set up Operation Macademia, Operation Malteser. You know what I'm saying? No, I want Operation Malteser. No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't think the government and the authorities, the police chief, the Silver Surfer guy there, would be boasting about all of the arrests they've made weeks after the event if it were, you know, if it weren't a load of working class white people. That is the perception. I don't know if that's right. It's the way it feels, you know, and that's a big problem. Optics, right? Am I right?
Worked our way through CCTV. We've been provided names by members of the public. We've actually had some people contact themselves saying, I've been involved in this, my picture has been in the paper, and they've handed themselves in.
Oh man, what betas. That would never be me. They'd have to drag me kicking and screaming from my house. I'd be clinging onto the threshold. Ah!
So we're just working through methodically the CCTV, identifying suspects, building the evidence, and then going out and arresting them.
Oh God, it's so terrifying when... I don't know what it is. There's something that I find absolutely horrific about people like this. And I'm sorry, it's a Karen, okay? People like that are methodically going through all the CCTV, right? And looking for you if you were there, all right? And we'll find you and we'll arrest you. There's just... Wouldn't it be less scary somehow if it was some muscle-bound, absolute fucking nutter psychopath? I think that would be less scary. It's like, I'll fucking find you. Like a fucking big, fucking True Geordie-like guy. That would be in some way less scary. I feel like he'd be fairer.
Mate, come to the door, we're going to put it in.
Mate, come to the door or we're going to put it in? Yeah, you and what army, Powerpuff? Don't go breaking one of your nails.
But they weren't done yet. Across town, Stockton-on-Tees.
Right, the dog's in the garden, is it?
You cover the back garden escape route too, of course.
I love the way the presenter talks about the scumbags they're trying to arrest. Eh? Naturally, you will want to cover the back garden escape route too, of course. Right? You know, he's not trapping a fucking badger. After you've set fire to the chav's council house, you'll want to throw a net over it.
Use all on my house. Well, you lot speck stupid press.
A man aged 25 arrested on suspicion of violent disorder.
That's interesting. It would appear that this Macademia is still in its shell.
If you're involved in the disorder on that day, we will identify you, we will arrest you, and we will put you before the court.
Oof.
Garnett Street in Middlesbrough town centre still bears the scars, where people smashed up windows on August the 4th.
Oh no, wait, sorry, that's not Garnett Street. It's just Middlesbrough, which is a shithole.
14 arrested on Teesside today, aged between 11 and 43. National figures show 1,165 people arrested, 703 charged. Those figures, again, will increase.
Well, anyway, there you go. More two-tier Keir, eh? Am I right? I don't know. You let me know what you thought in the comments. I don't know what else to say about this. But there you go. If you've enjoyed the video, let the algorithm know by giving me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you want to help me out even further, you can check out my Patreon, where I put up some early videos and some exclusive videos up there already, and more to come. I'll see you in the next one, I guess. Goodbye.
Why, I'm Ant-Man, and I'm Deathpad, and this is the part of the show where we don't know what's going to happen.
So let's take out our earpieces.
And let's turn off the auto cue pet. Away, give us the card.
It better not be note like last week. Me